information som är det här. Nätverk. Så jag ser vi efter till vi bara tänka på. Eller en dator under här kanske? Det var den jag tänkte på. Det här är ju precis samma som håller informationsmässigt. Ja, just det, jag har ju också en sån här liten mygga. Ifall det behövs. Ja, jag börjar där. Ja. Så vi måste ta på den sen också. Men vi kör lite akademisk fatt idag känner jag. Precis här kanske.
Men då kan vi köra då? Eller?
Ja, vi måste bara få igång strömmen.
Eller du kanske ska meddela honom då så att inte han springer runt hela kvarteret för att hitta den här adaptern?
Nej, det gör han inte utan nu vill vi köra den här istället.
Ja, okej.
Men
Så jag är ju lite för handikappad för att veta hur man sätter igång allting.
Men han, ja.
I alla fall. Det är skönt att alla får kolla sina mejl nu vid morgonen här och så. Det är hyfsat gott med tid i alla fall. 12 menar jag.
Mm.
Får ni igång nästa
Ja, vi vill ha det på en sticka istället.
Ja, jag tänkte på det. Man kan bara bakslagen. För den här var inte han med förra gången.
Nej.
Så jag vet inte riktigt vad det är för någonting. Eller jag vet ju vad det är, men jag vet inte varför. Så jag vet inte om... Får du igång en annan dag? Alltså jag får igång den ibland, men den kommer ihåg. Så jag är rädd för att jag... Varför har vi ingen HDMI-port på sin? Jag har ingen HDMI till VGA eller... Jag vet inte, funkar VGA? Vi kan väl prova, om vi provar koppla in din dator på den.
Ja, vi provar det.
Alltså vi har ju såna här, den här kontakten har, ja men den har vi också som ju i princip är HDMI.
Ja, okay. Jag har tyvärr ingen adapter till den.
Jag brukar vara tryggast.
Så. Ska vi... Ja, nu står det ju HDMI1 så det är ju, jaha, där, okej. Okay.
Och sen vet jag inte, men jag misstänker att vi inte kan få igång strömmen på det här sättet.
Ni kommer inte få igång strömmen, då måste jag hålla igen. Men det kan vara värt att prova.
Fast vi har ingen adapter. De har bara mini-HDMI och vi har bara HDMI och IT är inte här just nu, de jobbar hemma.
Ja, det var.
Så det är liksom, så det, om vi skulle få igång den stationära skulle det gå, men
en vanlig Mac med en vanlig HDMI och
ja.
så powerslidesen på en...
Ja, de ligger här.
Ja, och det är PowerPoint eller?
Ja.
Ja, jag springer upp.
Ja, det borde vara det.
Ja, nej men.
Hur många är det på distans?
Alltså det är 3 som har anmält sig.
På distans? Ja, men då klarar ni ju 90%.
Jo.
Man får räkna med ett visst svikt.
Ja, de blir lite sura.
Anna, kan du ta det istället? Jag har inte Office på mig.
Ja, men jag har ingen dator när jag bara dator. Men jag har hela min sån adapter ligger på.
Fast du har väl HDMI-adaptern hemma eller?
Okej.
Okej.
Okej då, det är inget stressigt än vad jag hade tänkt mig. Fixa det sen.
Ja, Sebastian får.
Okej. Vi får rycka in med en.
Då tar vi ur den här igen då. Om jag fattar rätt.
Ja, vi använder hans dator.
Ja.
Så vi behöver bara din sticka.
Den ligger där.
Då så.
Ja, ja.
här eller?
Du ska ta det rätt.
Ja. This is the PowerPoint.
Då börjar vi med, nej det är fel, vi börjar med. Vi kan väl öppna båda. Vi öppnar den här då.
Okej.
Mm.
Så vi skulle behöva kolla så att det går ut på YouTube också. Kan vi kolla på det?
Ja, men det är det. Kommer det något? Ja, men det är det. Okej.
Jag såg någon liten bild.
Ja, men då kör vi den bilden.
Jo.
Och sen har vi... Vad tog mikrofonen?
Jag måste bara sätta på den om där. Det är den.
Du ser...
Hallå? Låter det någonting?
Nej, det är bara att det ström. Men du ser den gröna stapeln bredvid videon om du pratar.
Hallå? Så det går, men det ska låta här eller är det framförallt i Kalmar det ska låta?
Ja, ut på nätet till
Ja.
de som följer.
Ja. Så,
3 watching. Så det var de 3.
good.
Ja, men då välkomnar jag alla efter lite tekniska missöden. Men då fick ju alla kolla sina mejl och sådär och lugna ner sig. Så då välkomnar jag Stefan och Olle. Och det är Olle som kommer börja här lite om Avans.
Yes. And
True.
you wanted us to speak in English,
Yes,
wasn't it?
because we do have some that have limited Swedish knowledge.
Yeah. So thank you for asking us to come here and present the program Avans. That was the request actually, but when we do that we also would like to talk about building strong research and education environments, which we also call complete environments. And I will start to talk about Avans. Unfortunately, we have only those pictures in Swedish, but later on, and perhaps we will also talk the most about this, about complete environments, and that Stefan will talk about that. And the reason for this is firstly that since this year we emphasize very much that you should always try to build a strong research and education environments. So in all kind of applications, independent on program you send into the knowledge foundations, you always need to explain or describe the academic environment that will host this project, and also what the project you are applying for, what it will mean for the building of this environment. But Stefan will go more deeply into that, and I start to talk about the program Avans. A brief introduction. So it is about developing of research-based and business-related education programs on second cycle level. That means it could be master, it could be also the last years in long professional education programs like civilingenjör or civilekonom. In order to be able to apply, you need to have the rights to educate on this level, and that should not be a problem for you since you are a university. And we have limits on this program or the project that they should not be longer than 2 years, and at maximum you can apply for 2 million crowns. As in all our programs, you also need to cooperate with companies. And in this case, you need to have enough number or companies so that they, in a good way, represent the whole target group of companies. In general, one could say that this program is perhaps the least complicated one we have. I mean, a university, it should be, to develop a education program should not be a very strange thing for a university. But what might be something new is that you should have companies involved in the developing process. But if you follow the call instructions, and here it says what you should include in the application. If you do that in a good way, you will also have a good chance to receive, to be accepted. So, as I said previously, you need to have this description of the research and education environment and how the project will contribute to building that environment. And Stefan will describe this in a more thorough way. You should also describe what why is this education area important for the industry, and what potential do it bring with it? Does it bring with it? You should also describe what are the needs you need to fulfill and what kind of developing work will you need to do in the project, because it's that which motivates the money you apply for. The company's contributions should also be described both in the project plan but also in their letters of intention. And it's important that they really describe why is this important for us, and also how are they willing to contribute in the developing work. One important aspect is also how will you recruit students. So you should also describe how you will work with that question. We have examples of program or projects in this program that they have done all the work, but they have actually in the end have difficulties with recruiting students. So this is something you need to think about from the beginning. You should also put up some result and impact objectives for the program. How many students, how many will go to companies, perhaps how many do you think will stay within the university? How many companies think that they would like to have more of students of this kind, and so on. You should think about those kind of figures. And then you should also present activity and timetable, activity plan and timetable. If you do this in a good way, there is a really good chance that you will be accepted. So I can give you some examples also on projects, but it is not really a very difficult complex program. So to give you some examples of accepted projects, I take those who were accepted last year. And the first one is about security, high security in systems for the aircraft and space industry. and like avionics. So it's a lot about embedded systems and electronics in this. And of course, these systems tended to be used in other industries as well, like the car and vehicle industry. I mean, the brakes for cars, for instance, are also using this kind of technology. A second project was about sustainable enterprising, and it was from the Örebro University, and you see here it's a master program. The first example was developing courses in the last years of this civil engineer program. From this university you got this project about sustainable structural engineering. Anybody here from that project? No? You are here?
Yeah, I'm from
yeah. So here is one expert you can talk with. And then we have one project from Högskolan i Borås about digital business. As I said, it's not really it's not a very complex program, but we can. One thing that is perhaps new for at least some of you is to involve the companies. And just to show you one example, I give you the organization for the project one use in Mälardalen then. So here you have in orange the different bodies of the university who are involved when you develop a program. So they have started from that organization, and then they have added some people and teams to fulfill the requirements for this advanced program. And you see it's mostly about involving more people from more researchers and also research groups at different kind of boards or groups here. And then also they have a particularly reference group of companies involved in the project. One could ask why they don't, at least for business-oriented programs, always have this kind of cooperation in the development. But so here what they do. And the companies involved in this project, they are three very big ones. You see that Bombardier, Saab, Volvo and Unibap. Smaller consulting for company. And in this case, the one thought that this is enough. I mean, these companies, they are rather big and they can, in a good way, represent the whole target group of companies. Another example I want to show you, it is from the project about sustainable enterprising, and it's this kind of time table and activity plan. Rather straightforward, but you can see the different kind of aspects when they start them, and some of them are doing in parallel and so on. In this case, they have involved a rather big number of companies, and that's perhaps not so strange, since in a way this is a broader theme, a broader subject, because sustainable enterprising is relevant for in principle every company. So here they have involved a bigger number of companies. Some of the lessons learned and challenges. What we heard from university people is that this is really a very good opportunity to do a real good work when you develop a new program. Mostly one is not allowed to get quite so much funds from internal sources. So it's very often it's a case of taking the existing program and do some changes there. But here you can really do a good work and go through all of the relevant aspects. In this work, it's important then to find issues or questions that it's really relevant for the labor market in the future, sometimes some years ahead from now. But it should also be very interesting for the academic research and education group, as well as the companies, of course. So this is what you should find. So far we have also good experience when it comes to the company's contributions. They are really interested in the scope. Perhaps not on a very detailed level, but surely they want to know. They surely put in some input here, and they are also very interested in that the students get a kind of holistic picture of how it is to work in a company. I mean, you can find, for a technical problem, you might find a very good solution, but it's so expensive, so it will never be able to implement it, and so on. So one need to have this more holistic picture of being in a company. And also, I think it's very important that students develop their ability to work in teams, because that is often the case when you work in a company. As I said before, the recruiting of students is very important to think about that. So marketing and communicating this program is also a challenge to become successful in the end. Some of the problems of application, I have also some experience on that. Sometimes the contributions from the companies is not very clear described. And it could be in the project plan, but it could also be in the letter of intents. The education program in itself is about somewhat unfocused. So what are they really wanting to do here? That has also been a problem. There has been no real connection to this strong research and education environment, which we always have wanted, but now from this year stress really hard. And it also been very unclear how they really, from where they will get the students. So this is our example on lacks in applications. So actually I don't think I will say so much more. So if you have any questions, we can take that, of course.
What's the success rate in the last round of applications?
It was about 50%. It has been so like that every year. And as usual, we say in the Knowledge Foundation, if the application fulfill the requirements, it is accepted. It's not the money who have, it's no restrictions there. Actually, and these applications, I mean, relatively don't involve a lot of money. I mean, some of our research and other education programs could be 10 times or even more. Yes?
From what I understood, it's not only entire programs, but you could also have just a group of courses. You mentioned the example for some courses for civil engineering.
Yeah, you can do that.
What's the, let's say, minimum number of courses?
We have not what we say that if you apply to us, it it must aim for a substantial renewal of the existing program. So it's not just 1 or 2 courses. It will.
The contribution to the environment that you kept stressing.
Yeah, but that one should explain what is the benefit for the environment with these courses. Or we will be able to develop new contacts with companies, or we will be able to employ new people in the research career, or what. I mean, that you should analyze yourself. Yes?
If we have a plan to go from a 1-year master to 2 years, that would be big enough.
Yes.
Yeah. And also, can we have this available, this presentation?
Yeah. Yes, I send it to you. Yes?
When you talk about companies, have to be companies or can be institutions who cooperate with them?
It could be that also, but you always need to have a number of companies.
Okay, so
But you could also have a public organization if they improve the work in the project. But it must always also be companies involved in it.
so we can't consider only an institution? Or
No, it will not.
Institutions have to be companies and we can ask whatever we want, yes?
Yeah. Yes.
Can you say something, give a few examples, what are the typical contributions from companies?
Very often one have a number of workshops where the companies participate. And some of these workshops, all the companies in this reference group participate, and sometimes they have also additional workshops with each company. And then in the developing process, but sometimes you have also members of these companies involved in these bodies in the organization, so they also are involved in the daily questions that comes up. So that you must find out yourself, what is good for the project.
But is it also related to that they sort of promise to enable a certain amount of master thesis project, for example?
Well, they should. That's a good thing. That's in the. We also say that they should also express their willingness to participate when the program is running, because we give support only for the developing, but then they should also be. I mean, I say we can offer you some projects, course projects or exam projects, or we can also participate as give lessons or so on, and it's mostly that way. So, should we end the first part then? Så then Stefan vill. Ja. Då ska vi.
Närmare här, så jag vet inte om man...
Ja, det här, nu är den på.
Tar du den?
Ska vi se för vi kan...
Mm.
It's working, yes. Okay, that was the easy part, not the tough part. I can say Avance started some years ago when the Bologna process was running. So there was a need to restructuring all the master's program. Almost, we saw that, and that was a lot of work. So we say, okay, we support them to have development funding, and we have continued. So I think the Avance program is very strategically important, but it's not very much money for us. But in the education area, it's a lot of money to get 2 million for developing a program. I remember I just got 200,000, or you should do it parallel with all your lectures. So my background is from BTH. I've been there for 14 years, some years ago, and now I've been here for 11 years, where I started at the Knowledge Foundation. We had 2 programs for funding directly to the younger universities. Today we have 11. Before that, I'm coming from Lund University, and I was building up the mechanical engineering department at both in Lund and here at BTH. So it's a little bit of background. So it's interesting to know how it works at the university and also be a funding agency now and see what can we do to support and have the right demands, so you will have a progress in your development. That's our thought. Okay, Knowledge Foundation, supporting collaborative research and education in Sweden. Yes, that's what we do. And collaborative is very important. We are a foundation, free from the government. We have our fundings. We got 3.5 billion 23 years ago. We have been funding 9 billion, and we still have 9 billions. So money is not the problem. It's the quality, always. So the success rate is not relevant. We can say no one gets any money because it's too bad, or everyone gets because it's very good. And that has happened even if in big programs. What we do, we fund collaborative research and education of the highest quality to increase Sweden's competitiveness, and that's in the statutes. When we say highest quality, it's very important. Many people at the university think if we got funding from the council or research council, it's when then you have high quality. But it's very important to look forward, and I must say the research council look backwards. So you need to have an ambition, and it should be possible to perform your projects always. So perhaps it's good to have a good record, but it's not enough. Never. So that's very important, I think. And it's always in collaboration with companies, because that's the background of statutes. So in the more institutions, it's not our task at all. But they can participate, but it's not enough to get funding from us. You need to work with the companies. And the target is Sweden's new universities, as we say, nya universitet och högskolor. And there are some of those. I will give you a picture of that. Mostly we look for in-kind participation. So it should be a cooperation. If you just send in money, you are not part of it. And that's not a success. So it's much better to have a deep, very good cooperation. So we can see some groups at the universities, they can't tell if the companies are more or less inside the research groups. Then it's very tight cooperation, and then it works very good. Project shall contribute to the strategic development of integrated and internationally competitive research and education environment. So that is very important. That's a part of the statutes, but now, the last year, we have put this in emphasis and focus that you need to describe the add-on when you apply for a project to your development. So it's not enough to have a researcher coming with his or her project into this and say, I would like to have some funding, if it's not connected to the rest. And what we can see since we have the new universities in Sweden, they have a quite different situation than the older one. More or less 70% of an older university is research, and you have the opposite. 20 to 30% is research. So mainly you are educating, and that's quite different in this. And how to build your environment to grow. If you don't have students at the master's level, you will not, as a researcher, be able to educate on your specialty. That's a problem. Or you have a basic course every year. That's not so fun. So you have a problem with recruiting new people in this. So that's why we emphasize that it's important to have the advanced level at the university. Mostly you have, I know that Linnéuniversitetet had some years ago, we were scanning this all over Sweden, And I think you have 8% of your students at the master level, advanced level, and that's not very good. That's a problem in your groups. And now you have aim, I think 15%, and you are around 13, I think, the last figures. So you are developing, and we support that. That's very good. These are the universities, and we say post 77, they started then. And you can see they are distributed almost half of Sweden, at least. What is interesting with this map, since they should be collaborating with industry, if we add, will not do that here, add the Swedish companies that are very important for the Swedish export and the income for Sweden. They are situated closely to those universities. They are not in Stockholm, they are not in Lund. And they are, well, some of them are in Gothenburg, but the most of them are distributed around the country. So you have a very important role in this situation. And say at least 40% of the students in Sweden are attending programs at these universities. The older universities don't want any more students. That's the situation. And this is very important. Co-production conducted in collaboration between university and business. And this is said in the statutes. It should be. And the value from the companies should be the same as we put in. And we have that especially in the research program. This education program, Avance, is not so important, but you need to have the connection, you need to have a cooperation to know that you have a relevant program. That's why. This is often a problem. Difficult to have a good relation with companies. It takes some time, some years. You can start with some easier research project, or educational programs are very good. The competence needed for the companies is very important. So, but we can see that there is very good research performed in cooperation. What makes us different? We are quite different as a funding organization. We do not select thematic areas or the research subject. All others do. They have panels, experts sitting down and thinking, what are we going to support for the future? And everyone in the world come up with the 5 same areas. So it's not very innovative. So we say it's up to you, but you need to have the companies with you. So there is the struggle or the fight if it's relevant or interesting to do this. So I think it works very well when we see what the results are. Yes, as I said, business sector collaboration in all programs, that's important. We support the university, the organization, not the individual applicant. If the researcher is moving, the project can't follow. Almost never. Some cases it works as well, but we say that it's a university because it's the university that needs to be better and develop. We support the long-term agenda. And we see that the project, it's not enough to have a good project. You have to put it in a wider context. As I said, how will you develop your organization, your group, or whatever? So that's very important to think about that. So if you have a lot of research and you apply for another research project and your education is not so very good, your master's level, advanced level is not there, we could say no. It will not add value that we think it would be the best. So that's new. It's from our board that decided this last year. I think it's very good because you need to build your strength at the newer universities. And we require aspirations with both research and education. That's very important. As you can see at the right, this is the criteria when we evaluate. And of course, it looks different when you look down in detail underneath. But all 4 areas must be fulfilled. So it's not enough to have high quality in research or the scientific part, and the rest is not. And I can say if a project doesn't work very well out, it's often the feasibility that lacks. So it's never enough with this. We can perhaps that's a little bit strange, but we can see it's working very good. Also, we can see that the benefits for the business sector is what they gain from you performing the research together with the business sector. So if you manage to solve the scientific question, then it's what will give it for the business sector or the companies. And also you have to describe what is the value for your own development, and it's often not the same as the companies. You are going to say graduate PhDs or students and your own career as well, and you have to describe that. Yes, as I said, this is not more than building one's CVs. We can see a lot of that today. You need to have funding because I need some PhD students so I can become a professor. That's the career path. And we say that's not enough. We would like you to use our programs as building blocks to grow your organization, to be better and have a better quality. Yeah, I don't think I need to go through all of this. A plan for personnel composition over time, that's very important. Perhaps you have now your first or perhaps coming the second generation of professors at universities. And that's a situation on new universities. They didn't have any professors before, and now we have some retiring. So it's the first time you have to take in the second wave of professors. If we sit in Lund, you can sit in the old room. There are 20 professors in the wall several hundred years ago. So it's quite different that you have your first generation of professors at the universities. You need to think about how to take care of that. Yeah, I don't think I need to that. And yeah. What we do is, our funding, where you can see the result that we will see, what we are supporting. Strengthening research results, increasing research capacity, it's about people, staff. Research collaboration with business, you can grow that, you can be better, you have the strategic partners, and etc. Your research focus, you should have a focus, you should say this is the area that we would like to be very good at, and perhaps you're not enough that I'm alone. I need to have a group to be very good at that. Often you need to have the support from the universities to say that this is an area that we would like to support, because you don't have the funding to do everything. And the research positioning, it's not enough to have high quality in research, you need to be visible in different groups, networks, etc. So this is what we would like to see when we support the research areas. The educational part. Developing education linked with strong research areas, and since it's at the advanced level and also the research level, you need to be good in research. There is a good connection here. You can't do this if you don't have that. And you need this to grow your group to be a very good and competitive research group or education group. Also, business relevant educations possible. Also the form how to perform your education. If you're going through the net, you can develop your courses in quite different forms that usually standing here and talking. And we support that a lot as well. But it should be and must be advanced level and up. Yeah, broadening student base with business employees. That's another part. You have two, is it two? Yeah, two programs here. Expert competence.
I think it's, oh yeah, yeah.
Hmm?
That's right.
Two expert competence. Then you have a group of students that are working in the industry to attending your courses at advanced level. And we can see, since it's often very difficult to have a lot of students at advanced level, that's another possibility to have students. So you have some better economic situation on those courses. And we support that, and we can see there's demands coming from government now that the university should have a role in educating those working already. So they have to continue to develop their skills. And we have not seen that so much in Sweden. If you're going abroad, you can see a lot of the students coming from industry and attending the university courses in evenings, weekends, and so. But in Sweden, no. Increasing education capacity is about staffing again, and education positioning. If you are going out with net-based courses at your speciality in research, then you're really going out to position yourself in the world, because you know you're very good at this, and you can go out and educate who is interested in this. So those parts is very important, and we are talking about the balance. That's why we use this figure here, a balance in staffing. The younger staff, the older staff, students, groups, the basic students, and also the advanced level, PhDs, etc. You need to work with that all the time. So there's several, and also we can see the funding. You shouldn't be too dependent on our funding. You need to have other funding as well, of course. It's very important. And as I said, I will not go through all the programs. We have today 11 programs. Some are research, some are educational, and some in between. You can see here, you know about the basic research project HÖG. It has been around from the beginning. Prospect is the same, but a young researcher. The first real project that you are able to run on your own. Often it takes a lot of time to get your own project at the old university. You know about the young academic, the Ungas Akademi. They are not young, they are old already. Synergy, it's more advanced research. You need to have other groups to attending your research question, because it should be put at the level that you can't solve it on your own. So that really to have some sort of profiling or focus on your research, to have others to attend you and then become even better in your research. The research profile has also been around for almost from the start, and this is rather difficult. Then you can really become a strong research group in 6 to 8 years and a lot of funding. Normally those projects are around 100 millions, 40 from us and industry the same, and the university goes in with the rest. So it's around 100 millions for 6 to 8 years. Education, we have worked a lot with this the last, say, 5 years. We have industrial graduate schools, PhD students working at the company, attending a PhD education for at the same amount speed as a normal 80% PhD student and working in the company. So they are not hired at the university. That's quite interesting. Most of the PhDs are leaving the universities. They are going out. But everyone is educated to become a teacher at the university. That's also interesting. We have a rather new, is the professional licentiate. So it's, say, the step 1 if we go further to this, but this is a 2 or 3 year, it can take 3 years. You should be a specialist in or becoming a specialist at the companies, and you know exactly why I'm going to this research group and I would like to learn this. I'm becoming a specialist in this field. So we have some running in this, and we see we have next week we have evaluation of new applications. And we have now one from Malmö University, about I think 10 PhD students attending this from companies. And these are rather small companies, but it's an area of Internet of Things, and the companies are moving fast. So they don't know about 6 or 8 years for a PhD student. So say, okay, 3 years, it's enough, we can go. And I think we will work very good. And this is Avance, I think, yeah. No, it's coming there. It was expert competence first. So we have mentioned those. This type of program, if we look at the software engineering program run by Mälardalen University, Blake Institute of Technology, 6, Gothenburg IT University, it's around the same amount as a research profile. So we fund it with over 40 million for developing courses. That's rather unique. And we say it must cost to do very good courses in this. So we can say there is a possibility to do very good educational programs in this. And the net-based education, nu. And it should be closely related to in their specialty. Recruitments, building capacity, we started with that. We could see that you almost didn't have any time to apply for funding because you are educating so much. You have a lot to do. So we say, why not support them with recruitments? And now we have also assistant senior lecturer and senior lecturer added this year, last year, and that's a very successful program, I think. So you have the coming professors coming in, and we support that at the beginning, and then it should be running on their own. It's not much money for us, but it's really a thing for you to grow your staff. If you think you have funding for one new lecture, we say, okay, come in with an application and you can hire 2. That's the type of funding that we support. And also we have this, the most advanced program. If we take all our programs and say, okay, this is the package, and we go to the university vice chancellor and say, would you like to run your university in any direction? You can do that, but you need to do it. So you have to choose, and you have to control and steer your organization in a certain direction. Right now we have 5 universities in this field, and it's very tricky. We support them. We say we have a contract for 10 years, but there is no funding in that. We will support them, and each year we add new, say, projects fundings that they put in their focus and their strategy. So that's very difficult. So Halmstad, Skövde, Mittuniversitetet, these are the old, they are half-time now, and they have a struggle to see what's coming out after 10 years. And now we have 2 new universities, Jönköping and West, that also are starting. So we are going for hearing now in a couple of weeks, all those 5, with our expert groups. So we will see if they can land any funding and if they have any strategies and can develop. So these are the programs, and these are your tools to develop your organizations. And if there is quality, we will fund it. If it's not, we will not get funded. But we have a very good and thorough feedback on all applicants. So you get a feedback, and are always welcome to come back with a good application. So there is a possibility to grow your idea of what you will become. If you look at over time, if you were strategic or someone, another university, you should use it something like this. Perhaps you start with some research project with industry. You have not been working together so much. You develop your knowledge about each other. You go further with recruitments, some more advanced research project of a couple of years. Research profile could be a target. It takes perhaps 5-6 years to come into that level. Continue, perhaps now you have a research capacity, they are interesting focus, so you can add and advance your advanced level master courses in your specific area. Could be the last years on a civilingenjör. It's strange to translate. I usually say to foreigners, it's a non-military engineer. That's what it is. For civil engineering is something quite different. Industry research schools, you need to have the capacity in research to do that. And you can add different type of tools to this. If you do this, I would say it will take you about 10 years, at least, 15 perhaps. And if you manage this, then we have funded you with over 100 millions. In this, if it was those programs, I would say 150 millions over, say, 10 to 15 years. And you will have the same amount of money from the company put in as in kind as resources. So 300 millions over 10 to 15 years, then you really have a good position. And we can see different groups that already have made this, and they are very good. Some of them is in embedded system at Mälardalen University. They got most funding from the Research Council last year, the year before, of all groups in embedded system in Sweden. Perhaps you know about the software engineering group in BTH. They are top 1 in Sweden, and they say we will become top 1 in Europe, but something about top 10 in the world. They are very close. And they have been doing this. So it's totally possible. We also have some of the benefits for companies, because it's difficult to describe for companies, why should I attend? And we have some of this, and you can get the information. There's a lot of different findings from the industry, why they should participate. And of course, you have a lot of competence coming out. It shouldn't be just competence coming out from a research project. It should be students, PhDs, etc. So you have a volume of competence coming out. Well, perhaps you know this. Establish new areas for your own development, recruitment of more staffing into your groups, have, say, researchers coming from abroad with good research background, new ideas that you need to add in. You can learn from them, and then they leave again. Research competence, this is more like profiling. You have to choose, this is the area we would like to be good at. And so you can continue how you can build your own environment. What we do then, so you can be strategic, is that we have our calls in a plan for 3 years. So you know when the calls are coming. Otherwise, often is when Olle is ready with his call, he would like to go out, and you never know when. Just coming, and you have 1 month to apply, and you have a lot of courses, and you can't do it. So that is not the right way. So we will say this is the plan for our course, and you can be sure that a research profile you can apply in 2 or 3 years if you start building on that now. Totally possible. And we can, mostly we can say also we can guarantee that we have the funding. Today we have new decisions. The board said every year up to 600 millions from us in new decisions, and they are running over several years, of course. So as a research profile, 40 millions is over 6 or 8 years. So we don't pay all the money at the beginning, because it's coming out every year. And we can say we can have this volume of decisions if we have a plan now for around 2025 or 2030, I think, and no problem. The limit here is your capacity to use more money. So we can't fund more right now because you don't have more staff. You have your courses to do, but you have to grow in the other fields and that takes time. Yes?
Yeah, I have a question about do you have any like a postdoc program? Because the prospect is directed to PhDs
Yeah.
at the young universities, but to bring in.
Yeah, you can do that. If we look at the prospect program, we can see that most of those PhDs coming in the first project at the other university are coming from another university. So they are moving. So it's like in postdoc. We don't call it postdoc. How you will hire them, in what you call it, it's up to you. But we support you with a project. We would like to have them more or less that they are a person that you would like to build on. And we can see that nearly all of the prospects that have performed the project are still at the university, and they are becoming a senior lecturer or assistant senior lecturer.
So we could use that program to recruit.
Yeah, that's right. So it's a very good recruitment program because there is no possibility. As a PhD at the university, new, young university, you're totally uninteresting. We are looking for new PhD students and you have to fix it for yourself. So that's quite difficult today. So we say it's a very good program to say, okay, I know you. Would you like to come into our university to run your own project? It's possible to have some funding for doing that. And you can work also with some companies. You have to. And we have a good contact with several companies. So perhaps you could set up a good project. It fits into our environment, and that's possible. So there is a good record from this program. So it's possible. Otherwise, you have, after the postdoc, it's assistant senior lecturer. And it's growing very well now. So it's a little bit coming back again. We always perform a lot of evaluation and look at different publications and follow your development. So we have a lot of this different program looking what is the results, how it's going, what is the situation. We'll try to understand the younger university's situation. And we can see that if we look at the research profile, as I said, some of the research profile we have today, I think we have 13 running, and we're funding around 25 or 26, I think. And they are all performing very well. And we can see if we look at the bibliometric results, they are very good positioned in this, nationally and internationally. This is the typical networking for Mälardalen University with all the companies and different research projects or projects. So if there is a thick line, there is a lot of interaction in this, a lot of funding of values going into the research group and in both directions. And we have this on all universities and can see we can always tell your vice chancellor what companies are your most important. Often they don't know themselves. They don't have this information. As a researcher, you know the companies you are working with, but as a whole, they don't have the whole picture. So rather interesting. We can also see that some of the companies that have attended research collaborative projects have added their competitiveness as a result in economic figures. So they have made some studies on that. They did the same study in Boston and also at Copenhagen University. So it's similar results. When they started, they have a positive trend in the development at companies. So it's a very good value for the companies to start to work together. Yes?
Evaluation like that showing the increasing competitiveness of the companies would be a great support to have when trying to approach.
Yeah, we know. It's also difficult to do them, but we had a lot of information. But they are using methods they normally do in the nationalekonomi. What we also see, if you follow some, yes, sorry.
This data, is it available for us?
Yeah, often you have it on our website with different reports and so. So you can go and look at our website, kks.se. So often we put them there. We are always evaluating our research profiles after they are finished, and it's ordinary. What is the scientific quality at the? Can we see a development? And we also have half-time evaluation of these bigger projects. If you are reading this type of reports, Nordforsk has just added comparing research at Nordic higher education institutions using bibliometric indicators, and it's based on subjects, areas. And if we look here, we can see that Blake Institute of Technology, Mälardalen, in engineering, including software engineering, is better than Lund University. So it's totally possible to be very good. And we can see that Örebro University is very well situated in some subjects here. Also, they are better than some of the older universities and as a whole. And they have been growing the last 10 years. When they got the university status, they have no technical education at all or research, same as Linné, I must say. So it's totally possible to become very good. And if you can go in and look at those reports and read, well, the Linné University, in what subject do we perform very well and not so good. So it's quite different who the university that has managed to focus and say we have a possibility to be good in some areas. They have always, nearly always managed. So I will end there. So it's your possibilities, and we can fund it if you have the quality.
I had a question.
Yep.
Because Hög and Prospect usually had a deadline every year, and now
Yep.
you have a, every second year.
Yeah.
What was the thinking behind that?
It's the thinking is that strategic value in building your environment. We can see that there are some research groups, very good, performing very good, running a Hög project. After 3 years, there are coming a new application, continuing project, very good quality, and will be supported, but nothing more happens. So we can't see any progress in the environment, how they build their group or something like that. There are just a couple of good researchers, and we say, this is not our role. So that was the board, our board, that said this last year. This is not a situation. And if we look at the strategic value of all the programs, it always came out with a Hög is the least. But it's quite different today. When we started 23 years ago, the younger university didn't have any research funding at all from government. It was zero. Today it's not zero, so it's quite different. But if you have a good say development in your group and you say there are some new areas coming out from this very special group, it's not normal to do that. You can have a Hög project to do that on top, and perhaps that will be a new direction on top of a very good group itself. So you need to support the development of new areas coming as well. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, the expert competence, is that continuing, or I've heard some that would be...
No, it's continuing. Oh yeah. It's very important. I think it's been a very difficult program for the universities. And you have two at Linné. BTH was one of the first, and also Linné. We have this in Prompt, Mälardalen is responsible. Jönköping in casting as well. Yeah, University West in production technology. So we have several, but we can see that there is a possibility to have much more of this. We see they have a special knowledge that are very interesting from the industry, but they haven't, I think they don't have the capacity. So we are promoting this a lot. But all those research profiles that we have been supporting, they are, nearly all of them are able to run expert competence.
You can
apply in January.
Yep.
Yes.
So it's out now. Yep.
And this expert thing, that's something new to me. How can one, where can I read about it, or where can I get information?
Yeah, we have all the calls, both in Swedish and English, all programs.
Yeah, and you can do it on our website. So the program is described there,
Yep.
perhaps not so long, but you can also see
So,
the
so,
call.
so on
and
your
you-
website we can see your
Yeah, and
this
there are,
expert.
and you
Yeah.
can also find, you can read about the programs or the projects running here on the NEA.
And you can
because
talk
it's
with your colleagues.
via links. It's about wood technology and about web technology and social media. Those two you have.
Yeah.
And you have also connection to actually to one that is in BTH.
Yes, that's right. So it's possible to have some other type of students coming into your special courses in your research group. And we could say, I think the best example is casting in Jönköping. They have a lot of students from industry and they are moving the programs in the ordinary program. So they have students from both. And suddenly they have a very large group of students at the master level. So you have some
And
good
have
situation.
actually, I mean, this program have also been, they got prize in EU actually.
Yeah,
It's the prompt.
yeah, they did digital skill.
software engineering program. So, and there is a big need of competence development.
Yep.
They have realized it's really in EU also.
There was some more questions. Yes?
Could you say something about when you write to application? I mean, often if it's applied research, it's easier to get companies interested if you sort of target it towards the problem that you work on. But there needs to be some component of research component. Could you say something about how do you put the weight when you evaluate the applications? Is it important that the research as such is you have theory and method development?
Oh yeah.
Or is applied research where you solve difficult tasks for the companies, is that good enough? How do you put the weight in that?
You need to have both. I would say that's the difficult thing. Often you can see that when you're starting with your first project, you're more close to the applied or the company demands. But when you are developing this, you can see if you go into a research profile, then you see a lot of research questions that the company says that we would like the research group to develop this because we see that we need this in the future, but we don't have the answer. But we can support them perhaps with data, say evaluation and tests and so experimental data, something like that. So it's a little bit tricky, but you need to have the scientific quality as usual. So I can say it's more difficult to have a project, a research project coming through here than in other. It's enough to have the research question and methods and your ambitions in your application. So it's more difficult. So it's not less scientific quality in this. And we can see that this in the research profiles, where we can see that the researchers, professors say, if we didn't attend or work together with these companies, we wouldn't have those research questions. So it's adding the research quality because they are in quite different situation and network. Yes?
How do you judge between companies in the market and companies that are from municipalities, etc.?
From?
Municipalities.
Yeah, that's a question. When they started the this foundation, there were no this type of companies coming from the communities. You need to have a company working in a market. So you can't have funding coming from taxes to the companies. So if you're working with education, it's not okay. And also, say health, medical, it doesn't work because the funding are coming from through the taxes to those companies. So it should be your product and services should be on the market. Always. We have some energy producing companies that's okay. There are some energy producing companies that's not okay. So it's up to every situation. So you can always put a question if it's okay or not. Yep, there was some more question I thought. Okay, so we are waiting for the applications. Thank you.
But one
Yep.
thing here. Since this about building the research and education environments is so important now, the application, we need to have this appendix describing that. And also in our application, you need to have a project leader, but you should also have a project owner, which we call them. And it's those who have the responsibility for the staffing and resourcing at an institution or what kind of organization or how you have organized your university. And for those of you here who are not also could be the project owner, but I mean, it's very important that you inform your project owner if it's the prefect or whatever it could be. And we also would like to talk to them. So how many here are project owners? Could be project owners in the KKA?
Some of you, yeah.
5, 6. So it would be interesting for us actually to have your names, I think, for me at least.
And otherwise you're project leaders.
So you could perhaps inform...
yeah, and some are joining us for lunch.
Yeah, okay, very good.
And all projects are signed by the Vice Chancellor. Always, yes?
Could the program manager and the owner be the same? Or is it that separate entities?
It could be, I think. But normally it's not. Hard-working, perfect, perhaps, as myself, pastime. Yeah. So, are we ending?
Yeah, I guess so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ulla, and report.